Colm Tóibín has been described as one of the best living authors, and his new book, The Magician, a sweeping novel of unrequited love and exile, war and family, has just hit the shops. I caught up with the literary great and I started by asking him about his 2009 novel, Brooklyn, which was adapted for film and nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Actress for Saoirse Ronan.
I sold the rights to a producer that I liked and trusted. She then behaved impeccably throughout. I mean, in other words, she got a great director, John Crowley, who I had known slightly and whose work I really admired. And then they together got Saoirse Ronan. I got to go to the Academy Awards, but if you're a novelist at the Academy Awards, no one has really any interest in you. They put me sitting at the back. I went to a few parties, but I'm too old and I'm out of things. So I honestly didn't know who Lady Gaga was. I knew there was someone making a big fuss, but I couldn't think who it was, and I asked somebody, and that's Lady Gaga. And I may or may not have passed Elton John.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the big occasion, the big business was that the film opened in Enniscorthy. They had 2 screenings, and we all dressed up, and we looked much better. I mean, people in Enniscorthy looked much better than anyone looked in Hollywood, and I was in both places, and I can judge.
We have to go on now, of course, to The Magician, and it is about the story of Thomas Mann, and I believe you've been working on this since 2005, was it? And a very interesting, complex character.
Yeah, I was in Los Angeles the first time, 2005, and the one thing I wanted to do was to get into the house where Thomas Mann had built as an exile from Hitler in 1942. So I started to imagine this life. He was born in 1875. He published a first novel when he was 25 called Buddenbrooks. And it made him famous, and it made him a lot of money. And he married a very rich and cultured woman. Together they had 6 children, but he also was, I think, secretly, quietly homosexual. Kataga's family was Jewish, and therefore they really were at risk, and their 6 children were at risk. And his job, and it happens in my book, is to get those 6 children out of Germany, out of Europe, and into America to get them safe. He then moves west, he moves to California, where a lot of the German exiles moved, just waiting for the war to be over and realizing, of course, that things became much worse. And for those people later feeling they had been exiled in paradise with their palm trees and their beautiful frangipani plants and stuff, while at home in their own country, the most, I suppose, murderous, things were going on. So it's something that Thomas Mann had to try and write about and think about. He became, I suppose, with Einstein, the most famous German alive, and he became close to President Roosevelt because he needed to know from a German that he could trust how this had happened and how Germany could be, in a way, rescued at the end of the war.
Sounds absolutely compelling. A writer writing about a writer. Looking behind you, of course, we can see an absolutely incredible collection of books. Could you pick out or even tell us which is maybe your most sacred book?
Well, I suppose, I've been working on this Thomas Mann material, and there's a short little book called Unwritten Memories by Thomas Mann's wife, Katia. This book really makes clear how much of Thomas Mann's own writing was not necessarily autobiographical as much as based on things that happened. Mm. But she writes a very clear account of what their lives were like and who they met and where they went. And I found it a very useful book when I was writing my own book. So that book, yeah, that's a good book. And we could keep going on. I mean, let me see what else is here. Oh, I'll tell you what's really good. If you're really looking for a good book, this is a book called Dreamers. And it's an account of the extraordinary revolution that took place in Munich in 1919. I mean, these guys were really serious revolutionaries, and they ran the city for a brief period. And this book just describes, it's almost comic, but it really shows, if you're interested in Irish history, that this idea of a dreamer with a gun was not just an Irish idea. The Germans, of course, were more sensible that they didn't actually shoot the leaders. They put them in prison, and they eventually got out. And of course, but when Hitler came to power, he really had it in for the people who ran the revolution.
Can you talk to us about the first book that maybe you remember reading or that was read to you?
I didn't really read when I was young. Before I just did. I start a book, but I just couldn't get into its world. And I think I started really with getting really interested in reading with Agatha Christie. And I found those books absolutely intriguing because I could never guess who did it. I was always fooled. I always thought the vicar did it when in fact it was the gardener.
What about yourself becoming a writer? And, you know, can you bring us back to when you decided this is what I want to do as a career?
I think the business of being a writer and becoming a writer is a bit grandiose, it's a bit large. Often you're just writing a book and then some days you're doing nothing. It's a lot of concerted work. You really have to concentrate. And I'm not good at that. I mean, I'm sort of a drifter, I dream, I'm a chancer. You know, I try things, but I did actually finish that book. And then I finished all these other ones. So there's nothing else I can do now, of course. I'm at retirement age, which is strange because I don't really want to retire from this novel writing business because I've been doing it now and I'm sort of used to it. Luckily, there's no mandatory retire, or maybe unluckily, there's no mandatory retirement for us, for novelists.
Colm Tóibín, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and it's been great to learn all about your life as a writer and, of course, living all over the world. So I have to say, slán from Ireland, and we look forward to seeing you back here soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Great to talk to you.